Please. Welcome to session 3. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I can see some new faces in the chat. I can see some people who've been here on the other 2 recordings as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Say hello in the chat. Where are you calling in from? Where are you zooming in from? Whoop, 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 whoop. I'm so freaking excited for this third in the series of 5 live trainings that I'm delivering over 24 hours inside this sales sprint. So if you're brand new here, hi, I'm Sarah, a sales coach for 6 and 7 figure women. So freaking excited to get into today's, this evening's juicy content. I've already delivered part 1 and part 2 today, which were around creating your premium offer and your excellent service. Then this afternoon we did session 2, which was about positioning yourself as an authority through premium positioning and premium messaging. And so now we're getting into the final piece for day 1, which is all around, because we've done some strategy heavy pieces today. And so now we're going to get into the identity stuff, because no amount of strategy can outwork a less than subpar identity piece. And so this is the real core stuff. This is the embodied leadership. So really excited to get into this today so that you can become the embodied leader that you're capable of being. And that is the leader and the representative, the person who not only just commands a high ticket price tag with ease, but someone that people feel safe investing a lot of money in, whether it's your 5K, 10K, 15K, through to your 50K programs. Even some of you have got 100K offers. So this is about you becoming that person who easily commands that price tag, is grounded with that sort of money, and is a safe investment for potential buyers, lurkers who are looking at you, may already be familiar with your offers, and they're looking at your online presence and thinking, is this the person who I want to take this next step with? Yeah, so this is the stuff that we're getting into today. Let me know in the chat if this is what you've needed. Maybe this is your favorite part. Maybe this is the stuff that you've been most looking forward to today. Let me know in the chat. If you're catching up on the replay, let me know in the comments underneath if this is the one that you've been most looking forward to. Maybe this is some stuff that you've been working on. Maybe this is some stuff that in 2025, there were things that happened that you feel like you didn't represent either yourself in a good light. Maybe you didn't lead yourself or your others or your community or clients in the way that you would have liked to. Maybe you've taken some learnings from that. And maybe you're coming into 2026 with a different level of intentionality, self-responsibility, responsibility over your clients, your community, the people who already work with you, and the people who would like to in future. And you're bringing a different level of focus, different level of commitment, a different level of leadership into this year as you're growing your company, as you're scaling your company to 7 figures and beyond. This work in this embodied leadership is a non-negotiable. Because I guarantee, even if you have got your strategy down and you've got really good offers and you're really happy with the price point and the messaging is bang on, and you've got a framework that delivers incredible results, you're growing your online media presence, and so we've got traction coming in. Even if all of those things are happening, if you're not embodied in your leadership and strong in your leadership, there's only so far the strategy will take you before holes start to appear, cracks start to appear, and momentum starts to die. Things start to go wrong. Your client experience is massively affected a little bit in the beginning, and then it gets to be worse and worse and worse. And essentially, there's no way for the strategy to outwork poor leadership. So this is the invisible but most important part. Not enough people are talking about this. This comes through everything that you do, because where the strategy is the how piece, this piece is the who piece. This is who you're being behind the screen. This is your ability to lead, to create safety, to create trust, to create reliability, to create consistency, to be the person that your business and your clients need you to be in order for this excellence that we've been covering earlier on today. In order to deliver consistently at a really high level, that requires a high level of leadership and self-governance from you. So I'm really, really excited to get into today's topic. Are we ready? Let me know if this is the stuff that you've been like, yeah, this is speaking to me. Let me know. So embodiment of a leader and becoming the person that people feel safe and feel excited about. This isn't just about creating safety. This is about creating excitement. Like, people want to invest a lot of money with you in order to get your most premium and your most excellent service. And so who are you being behind the screen to be able to create this deep level of trust, to create this reassurance through the screen and in person as well, because this works for events and meetings, any place where you're meeting people in person, but especially online? How are you getting across a strong feeling of trust, conviction, certainty in you, so that those buyers that want to come in for your high ticket spaces can come through easily, because they see the level that you hold yourself to, and therefore they see the level that you will hold them to, and are both excited and maybe a little bit challenged by that, and rightfully so. And that's why people come into high ticket experiences. People want to be challenged. If it was easy, if they could do it themselves, they would, and they can't. That's the whole point. So let's get into it. Now, recapping on the other sessions, I told you that I was covering all of the letters of sales of SALES, and this one being leadership, the embodiment of a leader. So we've touched on in session 2, we talked about authority, both from an internal and external perspective. That external piece being your positioning, how you position in the market, and then your messaging as well, how you're actually communicating the transformation that you deliver. Whereas on this piece, we're looking at the internal, because the reality is your business won't scale until your leadership does. Until you grow who you're being, who you're becoming, the level that you lead yourself to, your business and your strategy cannot surpass that. High ticket sales don't happen because you're good just at selling. They happen because people trust in your leadership. And that starts with you trusting your leadership. At the 10K to 50K price point level, clients are not buying things like information, access, courses, frameworks, stuff, or even accountability. When it comes to just information, they can get that stuff elsewhere. When it comes to just having accountability, they can get that elsewhere. So clients at this level are buying how you think differently, your decision-making ability, your standards, your certainty, and safety in your leadership. So this session is all about who you're being in the business, not just what you're saying on social media. It's not how you're showing up, it's how true that reflection is of the you behind the scenes, not just the one in front of the scenes. Who's behind the show? Who is behind the curtains? When we think about your main character show, even if you've got your front of house version on lock and you know how to switch it on when the camera's on, and you've got all of your content down and you feel really good about the version of you that you're posting online, are we in integrity with who we're being behind the screen? Let me know if this is landing for you. Because if there's a distance between who you're being behind the screen versus the version of you that you're posting and positioning online, that distance, A, is a lack of integrity, B, will create friction in your business, both because your clients will start to see it and it will seep through all these other areas of your business. So we want to make sure that there is not a gap between who you're being behind the scenes and who you're being in the front of house. So some usable examples for you. What strong leadership is. This is decision-making at your next level. And I'm not talking about like what to post today or how to get a client today or those small little things that are like second nature to you. I'm talking about high-level problem solving, decision-making when you're in the fire, decision-making when something has been brought to you that is hot, decision-making when you're up against it with time, you've got unforeseen financial things, you've got team members that are coming to you with things. Maybe you've got some like brand or reputation things to take care of. Decision-making when there's a lot at stake. It's also your CEO habits. your routines, your thoughts, your actions, the things that you do for you behind the screen, behind your business. The things that you'll have your routines in business, but what routines and standards do you have for yourself? It's also holding standards. So things like your pricing, your delivery, making sure you don't drop the ball on things, your boundaries. That's a huge one. Strong leadership is strong boundaries. Strong leadership is non-negotiable boundaries. Strong leadership is also leading clients through discomfort, not rescuing people. And it's also owning outcomes and results and eventualities and situations you end up in without dramatizing or overly attaching an emotional feeling to it. It's the power in the peace. Not every result and outcome is going to go how you want it to go. But as long as you're grounded in who you are and you know that you have the power to change your circumstances regardless, nothing sways you because you are strong in your conviction and your certainty. So even when, just I didn't say if, when things happen or the plan doesn't go to plan or something unforeseen happens, which is going to happen, that's life. But it doesn't sway you as a person. It doesn't change your level of integrity, how you show up for yourself, for your clients, your level of seriousness, your level of intentionality. Now, on the flip side, let's look at some opposites. Now, let me know in the chat if you've either been guilty of some of these, if you've either been guilty of some of these, and don't get me wrong, I'm sure I have in the past. In fact, I definitely have. I'm having a little look through the list. I definitely have. But, I haven't always been an embodied leader. And this is the point. When you're earlier in business, you're still learning to know your craft and do your craft well and earn your stripes as a leader. Leadership isn't something that you just walk into. It's something that you acquire through years, wisdom, and mastery of your skill. So, give you some examples here. What stronger leadership is not. It's not over-explaining prices or only offering low or cheap experiences. That is not strong leadership. That is, to put it, you could put it as in, that's catering to people. I would go as far as say is people pleasing. In fact, I might go as far. I would definitely say, I don't know why I'm sugarcoating my words. If you're over explaining your prices and or only offering cheap or low ticket experiences, that is 100% people pleasing, and that is not strong leadership. Another example of what it's not is softening your boundaries. This might look like going against your word, going against your cutoff times, making allowances at your own expense, whether that's your own expense of time, your own expense of money, your own expense of your energy, your happiness, your joy, your own energetic space. It's also not rescuing clients when they wobble, like needing to be the savior for people, asked for or not. It's not carrying emotional weight that isn't yours, deciding to take on things that were never your responsibility. It's not taking responsibility for outcomes that you don't control. Hashtag literally not your job. But it's also not taking responsibility for the outcomes that you do control, but that didn't go how you thought that they would. You had full control. It was your idea. It was your plan, and things didn't pan out how you thought that they would pan out. And that means either letting people down, changing the plan, doing things that you didn't want to be doing, and how you own that moment, or lacking in not owning that moment. That is not strong leadership. Let me know if any of those resonated. And I'm not trying to point a list of mistakes, or have you done this, this, and this? Because at some point, especially as you're growing as a coach, as a mentor, as a facilitator, as someone who is excelling in the level of experiences that they create and provide, at some point you will have done probably a fair few of these, if not all of these. Growth from an identity perspective means outgrowing these behaviors, deciding that you're no longer available for these, and that the direction that you're going and the version of you that you're becoming doesn't do these things, because these are qualities of someone that is either earlier in business or not confident in what they're doing. And so as you're growing in your confidence, your conviction, your authority, these are things that you can gladly leave in the past, as you're increasing in your leadership and wanting to be a more embodied leader, and someone that when people land on your page, they're instantly like, I know that I would be safe with her or can trust her for 6, 12 months, 2 years, and I would be happy to invest at that level with her. Remember, high-level buyers are not looking for information or accountability from you. They're not asking about your framework, your process, your methods. They're asking themselves, and they might not even ask you these things. This might not even be a conversation. And this is why, when you've already answered these and you can show these through your content and messaging, when you can communicate this in your messaging, this is where you'll get high-level buyers coming through being like, send me the link. Because they're not asking for your information, your courses, your methods, your framework. What they're asking themselves is, can I trust this person to lead me when things get uncomfortable? Because they will. And they know that. Your high-level buyers aren't stupid. They know that things are going to crop up, that, sorry. Ooh, third session of the day, starting to lose our voice. They know that unforeseen things are going to crop up. They know that sometimes life is going to blindside them on some idle Tuesday. They know that they can do the best 6-figure launch plan in the world and still things will come out of left field. They know that challenge is going to happen. What is that? Change is the only certainty. I don't know whose quote that is, but change is the only certainty. And so they're looking at, can I trust this person to lead me when things get uncomfortable? Which is how they'll be looking at you, how you lead yourself when things get uncomfortable. Do they collapse when things wobble? Is this person clearer than I am when I'm in my head? Do they hold standards, or do they bend when they are challenged? Have a little think about that. Have there been times over the last year where you've had challenge and you've wobbled? And of that, how much of that challenge did you post about? And what I'm not saying here is that posting about challenge is bad, because I'm not. There's a lens here. How much did you post about that challenge from I'm in my emotions and I just need to like talk about this, and you're being reactive and just sharing with no real filter or lesson, or like no real what's in it for me, no real takeaway for your audience, versus you took some time to think about, whether it's sleep on it or like collect your feelings, to be able to share it from a thought leadership perspective, so that someone can get the learnings from that and understand more about you as a person, rather than just hearing your unfiltered thoughts on the internet. Were there times in 2025 like that for you? Maybe you've had a time already in 2026 and we're only a month in. Think about times where you've had either your standards challenged or you've experienced challenge, how you've communicated that with your audience so they can see, how does this person lead themselves? Strong leadership creates a high level of trust. And when we know that people need that high level of trust in order to come into your high ticket spaces, any level of space, to be honest, but especially with your high ticket spaces, We need that high trust to be there. High trust leads to your high ticket investments. It leads to high investment, not just from a financial perspective, as in this person will find the money in order to come to your big spaces or high ticket spaces or like your long term or highest proximity spaces. They're also committing not just like the finances, they're going to commit far more from an energetic perspective when that high trust has been built because of your embodied leadership. When someone can see an embodied leader who is high in integrity, high in self-leadership, high in her standards, that person or viewer, someone in the audience is happy to make that commitment, both from a financial perspective, an energetic perspective, an emotional perspective. They're all in every sense of the word. So let's break down some of these leadership behaviors so that we can get into the nuts and bolts of it, and so that you can either apply these things in your business or start being mindful of where we can refine some of these, even if they're not some of your strongest areas or haven't been to date, where you can look to improve on some of these things, or maybe where you might have dropped the ball a little bit, but where, as the version of you who's coming into 2026, and as you're becoming your future self now, the version of you who is whatever your future self is, whether this is your multi-six-figure self, whether this is your seven-figure self, maybe this is your eight-figure self, thinking about the qualities that she possesses and embodying these now. So let's get into these 4 leadership behaviors. Number 1 is decisiveness. Leaders don't outsource decisions to clients. So if you've been finding yourself asking your clients either for feedback or for their opinion or for an answer because you don't know it or you're too afraid to own it, that's not embodied leadership. Things like if you've said, what do you think you want to do? Instead of, let me know what feels right. You see how one is open and it leaves a huge scope because it's, what do you think you want to do? It's like a huge open question rather than the assumptive and certain and grounded energy of, let me know what feels right. One is a question, one is a statement. One creates imagery and vagueness, the other commands certainty. Let me know if this is landing for you in the chat. What about things like, you might have said, what would you like to do next? Like asking someone's opinion rather than knowing. You're not going to create certainty and high trust if you don't know. If you're asking too much for participation or outsourcing the power to somebody else, that comes across as a lack of confidence in your own ability and your own method. Whereas if you were to say something like, based on what you've shared, this is the right next step for you. Based on what you've told me, here's what I'd recommend if we were already working together. See how it creates such a deeper level of trust by using this language that implies certainty. We're not asking questions, we're making recommendations. Remember, when people are speaking to you, whether, especially if this is a client that you haven't yet signed and we're in the sales conversation here, when someone is speaking to you in your DMs, especially if you've done the work too, you've got your great offer, you've positioned yourself as an expert, we've got really good messaging that's landing for us. So by the time someone has come through to your DMs and you're having that conversation, they're already interested. And so we don't need the, oh, here's everything to say about my program, or here's everything about the offer, and it does this, and it does this, and it does this. When you're at this level, trust that your buyer already knows all of that. They're already interested. They've done their research. What they need from you is clarity and certainty. So when you are over delivering in the sales conversation of just like, blah, let me just like word vomit everything about what is great about this mastermind, you're not displaying conviction, certainty behind it. It's giving the, I want to prove to you why this offer is great, rather than I already know this offer is great. Let me see if it's a good fit for you. Is this landing? Let me know if this is landing. So that was number one, decisiveness. Number two is standards. Your standards teach people how to treat you. This is going to be some interesting ground for some people. Let me know if this is like, oh, yeah, this is the soft spot for me. Your standards teach people how to treat you. And how you treat you and how you look after you sets the bar for how others will treat you. So if you're not looking after yourself, or you don't treat yourself well, or you don't talk to yourself well, or you don't hold yourself to a high standard, you ain't got no business expecting anybody else to do the same. The comments. So some places that your standards show up in. P.S. These will show up everywhere, especially in your content and messaging, but some places that your own personal standards for yourself and your business are showing up in are some of the things that are more tangible, like your pricing, your payment terms, your offer messaging, but also in some less tangible things like your expectations, as in your expectations and your expectations for your clients, how you respond to hesitation, how you respond to challenge, and how easily you're swayed or your groundedness. AKA, if you're someone that's swayed very easily, that's because your standards are either low or non-existent. If you're easily swayed by either challenge or someone bringing something to you or silence, we need some more work on standards. If you're someone that is constantly bending for others, you're not demonstrating strong leadership. Let me know if you've been guilty of this. So things like people pleasing, things like putting your clients or your business before yourself, taking care of everybody else before yourself, skipping on the things that are important to you in order to get things done in the business. Now, don't get me wrong, when you're building a big business, you've got a lot of clients, you're managing a high client workload, you're scaling fast, there's going to be times where you drop the ball and you're not going to get to every gym session. You probably won't eat, 5 a day every day. So there's going to be times where you decide not to put yourself first. And this is what I mean, as in, is it a decision? Therefore, you're still in your leadership and it's a measured and considered decision, either to go later on in the week or to work more in one day so that you can buy back some time tomorrow, for example. Like, you know when to push forward based on your own energy versus being someone that is just constantly working late or constantly working over or constantly putting herself on the back foot for everybody else. There's a very different level of intentionality. One is you're the first priority and you either choose to speed up or move back and either choose to put yourself forward or take measured changes that you still get the benefit from and it's still towards future you, versus the one that is the shadow trailing behind her own car. It's like you're not in the driver's seat and you're barely even in the car. If you're someone that is constantly bending for others, you're not demonstrating strong leadership. Leadership sounds like, this is how I work. This is the container. This is how it works. This is what's required. This is what's included. None of those statements are available for explanation or debate. They're not up for discussion. This is how it works. This is what's included. This is where the book stops. This is where it finishes. This is what I expect. No justification, no defense needed, no sugarcoating after of, but it's okay for you. Or, but I just say that to everyone. Like, it is what it is. That's a whole statement. That's a boundary. That's a standard. Be solid in your standards and do not waver from those things, because as soon as you waver from the standards that you set, what you're saying to people is, my boundaries are up for debate, and they're not. If you waver on your boundaries, you've got no business expecting anybody else to. You set the bar in your life and your business. You tell people how they can treat you by how you treat yourself. When people see that you hold yourself to a high standard, that you have discipline, that you have integrity, that you mean what you say, you set the standard. You'll have no problems with people respecting your time, your energy, paying you on time. You won't get people messing you around when you're high in your standards and clear about that. I know that there's a lot of people that need to hear this today. So where have you been dropping the ball in your own standards? Or maybe you haven't, but you know that there's room for you to grow in terms of the leader that you're becoming, that there's room for your standards to grow. Maybe it's as simple as, I've got a new level of standards, and actually that's not communicated anywhere on my sales pages or in my client welcome pack or in my T's and C's. I've got new expectations now for this version of me in 2026 that I didn't have last year. I need to communicate those at the point of sale or beforehand, or especially in my client world. I've got new expectations, new standards. Maybe it's different levels of availability. How have you communicated what your new standards are? Number 3 is emotional regulation. This is a non-negotiable at higher levels. This is not things like, this is what leaders are not doing, is chasing silence or feeling the need to interrupt it because you don't feel comfortable holding silence. It's not spiraling after you get a maybe or a no, or seeing something written about you online, or seeing a client or a comment that you didn't want to read about yourself. It's not attaching your self-worth to a yes or a positive piece of feedback or needing a result to go a certain way. It's not collapsing when someone hesitates or says no. Let me know if you've been guilty of some of those. Your embodied leadership, the woman that you're becoming, especially in this year, this person stays grounded, is neutral, is unattached to the outcome, is excited about results. She's driven, she wants to win, and also she's not attached to the result needing to happen a certain way. She knows that who she's becoming, the habits that she's building, how she shows up for herself and her clients, the standards that she holds for herself mean that those outcomes will happen because she's being the person she needs to be. The how will happen naturally, and it can happen a million different ways. And this is why you know that it's not just about strategy. When you become the person you need to be, all strategies work. Oh, who needed that reminder today? When you become the person you're required to be, you're capable of being, who you deserve to be, who your business deserves, the leader behind the scenes and up front, all of the strategies work. And then lastly is number 4, outcome ownership. Owning the outcome, regardless of what it is, regardless of whether it's good or bad, whether you planned for it, whether you didn't, whether it all went smoothly to plan, or whether it's an absolute hot mess. A confident leader is someone that takes responsibility for that outcome, regardless of how it went. A confident leader is also someone who takes responsibility for the container and the experience that's delivered, not the client's effort inside it. It is your job, your responsibility as a leader to provide the best experience that you can, to go over and above, to make sure that you're delivering at the best of your ability. How someone experiences that, or sorry, how they choose to work inside that themselves is up to them. You can only create the atmosphere and the environment for someone to excel. How they choose to excel within that, or how either fast they choose to go or how they show up for themselves, that's their own leadership question. You're not here to rescue people, remind people excessively how to use it, remind people to get work done, to convince people to commit, to come to every call, how to show up for themselves. You're not here to do that. Because you have deep trust in the container that you've created, the space that you've created, and how you hold it, your process, your standards, how you lead through example, and your client's ability and agency to get it done themselves. Trust in your client's ability and their own self-leadership to be able to get incredible results without needing you. So when we look at your identity shift to become the leader that you're capable of being, I'm going to repeat after me. We're going to do a little affirmation here. I'm not here to be chosen. I'm here to lead the right people forwards. Repeat it again. I'm not here to be chosen. I'm here to lead the right people forwards. Remember that, write it down, put it on your laptop, put it everywhere, embody it. You're not here to convince people. You're not here to sell to people. You're here to share your work with the world. You're here to share your gifts, your expertise, your unique solution with the people that are looking for that and actively want your help. You're not here to help people that don't want to be helped. You're here to create a space where you're so grounded, so in integrity, so convicted in your work and the level that you bring to the table, that you're leaning back, you're creating this energetic space for people to come into you. You're not trying to lean forward or push forward onto anyone. You're creating a space, inviting people into your world. It's a completely different energetic space. High ticket leaders operate from, I decide who I work with. I'm not begging you to work with me, and it's not available for everybody. You decide who you work with. Your role is to lead, not persuade. You also need to keep in mind that if someone isn't ready, don't make it mean anything about you. It's not your responsibility to make everything about you. None of your business. It can be completely up to that person, what they've gone through that day. Something might have happened that day, or they just might not be the right fit at that time. And maybe they will be in another week or month or whatever, or maybe they won't. And that's fine. And it means nothing about you. So take a little minute to reflect here. Where are you over functioning, over delivering, or people pleasing instead of leading? What would change if you stopped? And the last question here, where do you avoid leading because you want to be liked? Those questions again. Where are you over delivering, over functioning, people pleasing instead of leading? Number 2, what would you change if you stopped, or what would change if you stopped? And number 3, where do you avoid leading because you want to be liked? Remember, we looked at those 6 principles of sales psychology, and liking is an important piece, but it's not essential. Respect and credibility and authority and people seeing you as someone they can rely on is so much more important. So remember, people aren't going to be investing in your 10K plus packages. They're not going to be investing in 10K, 20K, 30K, 50K, 100K packages in order to get information from you. They're not. They're investing in leadership that they trust. They're investing in a space where they can get to somewhere that they can't do alone. They're investing in a space where they know that when challenge comes up, that person can lead them through challenge. When we think about the hero journey, it's not linear. It's not start A, all the way up, reaches the mountain, conquers the kingdom. It's not. That would be a really boring story. No hero journey has ever looked like start, win, 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 the end. The hero journey looks like start, bit of win, challenge, conflict, new character, more conflict, learns something, understands it, implements it, goes on to conquer something or win something or happy ever after. That's what your containers are going to look like. So take this into your business. Your highest ticket clients, your most premium buyers are coming in because of how you lead yourself and the standards that you hold for yourself and how you show those, not just through messaging. That is important so that you can demonstrate that through messaging, but your body language, how you show it, the standards that you hold on your coaching calls, the standards that you hold going live, the way you communicate, all of that is displaying the standards that you hold for yourself and your level of decision-making ability, your wanted to say embodied leadership, you overcoming outcome ownership. That's the word I was looking for. I was going to say overcoming objections. How you own things, whether they went right, whether they went wrong, how you own it, how you turn it into a win regardless. And so some of you will be listening to this like, I want support implementing this. Some of you will be listening to this wanting support, embodying this consistently. Maybe you've done little bits of it, but you've wobbled in other areas, or you just want to deepen your understanding in this work. This identity work is something that is not a one and done process. This is a skill that you're constantly refining, because you're going to go through different seasons of life. You're going to go through different circumstances, different challenges, different levels of responsibility. And at every stage of business, you're going to be required to strengthen the identity of yourself to be able to hold that new level of challenge and responsibility. This is exactly what my masterminds are for. So if you, someone that wants support, both integrating this, embodying this, practicing this, implementing it, this is what my 2 levels of masterminds are for. She sells and she scales, so that you can become the person you're capable of being and being the embodied leader that people feel safe and excited to invest high ticket in. I hope that you've enjoyed this session, everybody. Let me know what you liked most in the chat. If you're catching the replay, let me know underneath in the comments which was the bit that you landed for you the most. Would love, love, love to hear. And in the meantime, thank you, everybody. This brings our 3rd session to a close. Now, tomorrow, we've got 2 more live sessions happening at 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock, where we're looking at your main character energy edge, the thing that you're known and you're famous for. And at the 3 o'clock slot, we've got the strategy piece of your actual strategy to scale to 50 to 100K months by the end of 2026. Whoop, 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 whoop. All right, my lovelies, thank you so much. I've absolutely loved this one, and I shall see you inside tomorrow's session. Toodaloo!